Need a lift? Introducing our new protein bowls from Tudor's Biscuit World. Choose from our signature sausage bowl, packed with 39 grams of protein. Crispy bacon delivers a hearty 30, or dig into our veggie bowl with 21. Every bowl starts with fluffy scrambled eggs, sauteed peppers, onions, and shredded cheese, with savory flavor in every bite. Each comes with a side of tangy picante sauce, starting at $4.99, packed with protein, full of flavor. So go ahead, get your lift. Power your morning with Tudor's.
Welcome to the All Eers podcast, powered by HD Media.
All right, everyone, we are less than 10 days away from the beginning of the 2026 West Virginia Mountaineer football season inside Milan Puskar Stadium as the Mountaineers plan to take on the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, and we will provide you guys in-depth analysis from now until the end of football season, which will carry over to basketball, and then obviously into the spring sports season in the latter portion of May, early June. But for the time being, we're going to continue talking about football. As I've been saying over the last few episodes, programming note, next Tuesday, we're going to be joined by WVU Athletic Director Ren Baker, followed by a special edition on Thursday with the head football coach of Coastal Carolina, Mr. Ryan Beards. So be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast, including Apple Podcast and Spotify as well, along with it being on YouTube. And follow us on Facebook at All Eers. And you can follow us on our Twitter page as well, the Gazette's Twitter page, I should say, at Gaz Mail Sports. That's Gaz Mail Sports. Again, the links to all that will be in the description of this podcast. We're continuing this theme of whether it be a former Mountaineer player or a former Mountaineer coach, for that matter, moving up in the ranks in the coaching realm. And in our last episode, we spoke with former WVU defensive lineman Julian Miller, who is now with the Chattanooga Mocs as he enters another season down in Tennessee. And we're continuing this theme, but we're going to go to the Division II level, and we're staying within the state lines. And we are pleased to be joined this week as we move down to the Division II ranks, and we're staying within the state lines of West Virginia and going to the Mountain East Conference, where we are pleased to be joined by Glenville State first-year head football coach, Coach Jake Casteel. Coach, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So, Coach, to start, I mean, obviously you got this job just a couple of months ago, I think December of 2025, if I'm not mistaken. So kind of give us a lay of the land. How did the spring go for you transitioning to the summer? And now as we inch closer for you guys on the Division II level for game week, how has the transition been for you over these last few months?
Yeah, it's been good. It's chaotic at times, but it's been a really good experience. Starting when I got here with, not revitalizing the roster, but we needed to add some pieces. There's only 52 kids on the team. So, we got pretty active in the portal there in January. Then signed a really good high school class with mostly in-state kids from the state of West Virginia. And, spring ball went well, installing a whole new system defensively, offensively, and, starting to get the culture and the way of thinking of the team aligned with, the new staff and all of those things, and spring ball was good. We came out healthy, which is always a good thing. And then, in the summer, we were still recruiting for this year, which is a little different than the higher levels, and, added some pieces over the summer to bolster up the D-line, the O-line, and, add to a few positions. And then now we're sitting here getting ready for our first game. So it's flown by, but it's been a really good experience, and I'm having a blast doing it, and I'll have a lot more fun when we start winning some games.
Yeah, before we talk a lot about this year's team and the makeup of it, take me back through just your coaching experience, I should say. From the terms of coaching, it's been less than a decade since you first got into the coaching ranks. I think back in 2019 at Northern Arizona, you were a GA. Then you slowly worked your way up into the ranks. You had to stop at Boise State as a GA, then at West Virginia as a GA, before going to Cal Poly, Jacksonville State for a year, and then West Virginia in 2025 under Coach Rich Rodriguez. Kind of walk me through how chaotic and how quick has this been for you, just from where you started as a graduate assistant at Northern Arizona back in 2019 to now getting your first head coaching gig at Glenville State.
Yeah. Definitely not. I wouldn't say any of it's gone exactly how I planned it to, which I don't think anything ever does. But, every step along the way from, getting into coaching right after I got done playing in 2019, and, it was a new staff that different than the one I had played for, and thankful guys like Coach Ball and Chris Ball and Jerry Partridge took care of me and kept me around there and got me started, and then getting a chance to go to Boise under Brian Harston and Jeff Smetting and Spencer Danielson and be around some really, really good football coaches and learn a lot, and then have a chance to, from there, come back home and work at West Virginia, which was the first time working with my dad, which was good, and being able to pick his brain and being around Coach Brown and Jordan Leslie and some of those guys, Jeff Coons, who I worked under there. But, and then, the GA thing, eventually you're kind of, okay, I want to go coach. And I was blessed enough, actually a guy who coached me in college, Cody Von Oppen, was the DC at Cal Poly, and they had a DN job open, and I interviewed for it, was lucky enough to get it, and moved out to California, packed my car up and drove, and that was a heck of an experience. That is a beautiful area of the country. It is a beautiful school. It's an awesome university. But if you ever get the chance to go to San Luis Obispo, California, take it. And you can walk to the beach from just about anywhere. It's awesome. And then, I get a call in the middle of the summer that Coach Rodriguez needed a guy to come coach the nickel Sam, and it's kind of an analyst position, but I had my own room. And so I hopped on that, and, about 2 weeks before camp, I drive from California to Jacksonville, Alabama, and we end up winning the conference championship. Coach Rodriguez gets the West Virginia job, brings me along with him, which was awesome, and getting the chance to coach at West Virginia and be with Coach Alley and Coach Rodriguez and all those guys, and be able to take things I like from them. And I'm using some of those things right now. And I've been lucky to, come from a coaching family and had the chance to, as a young coach, work around a lot of really, really good coaches and be able to pick things up from them and put my own tweaks on it, or straight up copy it, to be honest with you. And so no, I guess this is the 7th year I've coached. It feels longer than that, but I've got a good amount of experience under my belt. Still a ton to learn and grow from, though, and hopefully be coaching for a long time.
Obviously, the transitions from one school to another since 2019 has probably been quick, as you've alluded to and as I alluded to as well. How do you go about taking bits and pieces from these different stops since 2019 and trying to apply it now into being your first season at Glenville State? Is it more of just analyzing it? Was it more listening? Like, what went into that? What went into that for you that has now allowed you to now be the new leader of the Pioneers?
Yeah, just GA and NAU to start. Like, you do a little bit of everything. It's not a big staff, so you're setting up the chairs. You're the recruiting guy. You are doing everything and football on top of that. So you're getting behind the scenes look at the operations, the recruiting, how practice gets set up. You're the guy drawing all the scout cards, and you're seeing how guys, while you're doing that, the guy you're working for you're watching how he prepares to coach a position, to coach a game, to call a defense, to call an offense. And at the same time, seeing, you're helping the head coach out. And, from there, Boise State was a whole different experience. There was a little bigger staff, still not as big as some of the ones nowadays, but you have your hand in everything. And Boise State was extremely organized, extreme attention to detail. And some of the things I learned from there, I've used at every stop, especially defensively, and some of how they teach techniques and how they teach the players and the whole progression of teaching fundamentals, techniques, and the scheme. They do a really good job there, still do a really good job. But, just being, in that GA role, you get to see and do a lot, which is why it's really important, I think, for young coaches to GA, because you get your hands on everything. And you also know what it's like to be at the bottom of the totem pole. And I hope, I never got treated. I got treated very, very well as a GA, and you understand what those guys are going through. You're not making any money. You're just trying to survive and trying to make it. And you're doing it for the love of it and to learn, So you have an appreciation, like our GAs here. They ain't making a whole lot of money, if any at all, and we don't have a huge staff, so they're doing freaking everything for us. And our position coaches have to do a lot. So you have a huge respect for the guys in those roles. And, along the road, you get to be around some really good coaches, which, you're taking notes, mental notes, writing them down, and whether it's schematically or culturally, whatever it is.
Talk about your dad a little bit. I know you guys were able to share last season together at West Virginia. Just to start, what was that like for you? Just to be able to work alongside your dad at West Virginia and just continue just to learn off of him and just grow more as a coach.
Yeah. And that's probably been ongoing, and really from before I probably realized it when I was playing, and when I didn't really fully understand it from his perspective, him trying to help me out or help me understand what my coaches were asking of me at the time. And he kind of stayed, he never really coached me, but he was more of a father. But I'd ask him some questions. But really, once I started coaching, being able to run like, hey, how did you do this? How did you teach this? How would you coach this drop? Or how did you teach them to fit this run or play this block? Whatever it is. And because he's been there, done that. And, the thing I appreciate about him is he doesn't overcomplicate it. He's a simple guy with really usually simple answers. And the thing he does for me to this day, and especially right now, is he'll be like, hey, don't forget about this. And it could be a simple thing. And I got a million things going through my mind. Like, hey, don't forget about this. I'm like, that's a great point. So just having him in my back pocket and a guy I don't have to worry about feeling stupid around, where I can ask him anything and get really honest feedback all the time. So I use him a lot for everything. And he's never been a head coach, but I'll ask his opinion. Like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think about that? And just using him as a guy who's been there and done that. And he's always really, really honest with me, which is a good thing.
One final question before we hit a break. Obviously, you mentioned just a close relationship that you have with your dad, I should say, Jeff. Biggest takeaway or biggest lesson learned from him that you're still applying to yourself today?
Yeah, there's a lot, but the biggest thing that stands out to me, and from my childhood till now, is he was a worker. He worked long hours, but he always had a really good balance of work to home life, and he never brought home, because there's some days where you leave the office, you're like a little frustrated, but you would never see that on him when I was a kid, all that. But like just his ability to really keep his mouth shut and work, and let his defense, the way they play, let the film talk for him. And he's an under the radar guy. He doesn't like the limelight, but he's got a lot of respect in the coaching community, the college football community, because of how his defense is played. And, he let his work and how he coached do the talking. And, I hope I can work half as hard as him, and I'll be all right. But that's the biggest thing, his work ethic and his ability to also be a great father at the same time while being in the office a lot. I hope I can be the same for my kids.
We're joined by new Glenville State head football coach Jake Casteel. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to continue our conversation with Coach Casteel as we dive into what this year's Pioneers team will look like up at Glenville State, and we will do so after this break. This is All Ears.
Football season is here, and GoMart has your gold and blue playbook. All August long, follow our weekly plays for your shot at the ultimate WVU fan experience. Plus, GoMart Rewards members are in the end zone with triple points every Tuesday. Not suited up yet? Sign up now to start scoring. Don't get caught off sides. Get your entry in before we call the final whistle. Winners announced on The Rich Rodriguez Show on September 7th. Check out the app or go to gomart.com for details.
Friday nights, packed gymnasiums, hometown pride. These are the moments that bring our communities together. At Burke and Herbert, we're proud to be your local bank, supporting the schools, student athletes, families, and fans who make our neighborhoods stronger. Because when our communities succeed, we all do. From all of us at Burke and Herbert Bank, best of luck this season. Member FDIC, equal housing lender, and proud to provide you with service beyond expectations.
Welcome back into the latest edition of the All Ears podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Kennedy, and we are continuing our conversation with new head football coach at Glenville State and Jake Casteel. And Coach, just talking about this year's Pioneers team, I know you got the job back in December of 2025, and you've had some time to develop relationships with your guys and develop a scheme and all that other stuff that goes into being a head coach. But when you look at when you got the job to now, Has it been more developing technique and establishing a scheme and just coaching philosophy, or has it been more relationships for you?
Yeah, definitely relationships first. Because coming in here, I can't coach the kids we recruited, the kids that were already here, until I knew them and got to know them. And that really started when we started the spring semester, and, we start workouts, we start mat drills, those things where, okay, like we're starting to go through some adversity together, player to player, coach to coach, coach to player, and start to build those relationships, start to figure out who you can trust, and just being around the kids, meeting with them. All the returners I met with one-on-one after I got the job. Some guys that were in the portal, I never got to meet them, and I was able to convince them to come back over the phone. But just starting to build a line of communication, start to build some trust, because until I had that relationship and some trust with them, I can't coach them. So it was definitely relationships first. And we didn't even get to any football scheme until mid to late February. And then we started introducing the offense and defense, our special teams, and, started meeting with them. But there had to be a relationship established. We had to get them to think the right way, work out the right way, do the right things in the classroom, be a good human off the field before we could even start talking about football. And that's still an ongoing thing. We've made a lot of progress, but that's where it all started.
In regards to just identity with this year's group, I know it's your first season at Glenville State, but when you're trying to create an identity, what goes into that for you, and what can people expect whenever you guys take the field for the first time this season?
Yeah, and I'll tell everybody this. I tell our kids this. Our coaches know this, is when people turn us on film, it should look like we have 15 people on the field. We should be flying around. We should be the hardest playing team. And when Glenville State fans watch us, anybody watches, they say, okay, those guys play really, really hard. They play disciplined. And when they get the chance to hit you, they hit the hell out of you. And I want people to feel us the day after they play us. So when they have to ride out when they come down to Glenville and play us, they ride in on the 15-mile road. They can't wait to get the heck on the bus and get the heck out of here, because their body's beat up from how we play. And that's kind of our mentality and what we've established with them. And that's an everyday thing, and that's how we coach them. It's kind of becoming the standard, and hopefully people see that here on Thursday. We go down and open up with Elon.
When you talk about the first couple of games of the season, how imperative will these first few games be for you as a coach, just to kind of see and assess where your guys are at in the early portion of the season leading into what eventually turns into your Mountain East Conference schedule?
Yeah, a lot. So we've only practiced since I've been here. So the game day is different. The approach to it should be the same as our scrimmages, our practice, the mental approach. But there is a lot more anxiety, a lot more pressure that comes with game day. Because in practice, you can reload things. Game day, there's no reloads. You got to do it right the first time. And so we'll get to learn a lot about our players and how they perform under that. They'll get better as they go, but that's everywhere with the first game. Is there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of unknowns for me as a coach, our staff, our players, and we got to push them in practice. And I think we have to where the game feels easier because they've had pressure on them in practice, the way we coach them, the team drills we do, and that there's always pressure being applied to them. So when they get out there in the game, it's not new to them.
Your interpretation or your analysis on the Mountain East Conference in regards to football, everybody knows somewhat maybe of how legit this conference is, both on the men's and women's basketball side of things from a conference perspective and also national perspective with that. But from a football perspective, it always seems like Frostburg and Charleston are the two teams vying for the conference title each and every season. And I know the preseason poll came out, and you guys checked in at number 6 in the conference. So just give me your perspective of the Mountain East Conference football landscape and how you kind of see you all fitting into the mix this season.
Yeah. The Mountain East Conference as a whole there's a lot of really, really good football coaches, a lot of guys I've known for a long time, or some of them I'm just beating, a lot of really good coaches, good people, and there's a lot of talent in this league. So it's a good league top to bottom, from Frostburg and Charleston, who have been the top dogs, through the middle of the pack all the way down to the bottom. Like, everybody can beat anybody on any given Saturday in the Mountain East, which is a good thing. I think the conference is a little bit under the radar, and there's a lot of new hires within the conference, and I think it's extremely competitive. And the other interesting thing about the conference is there's so many West Virginia kids that play on a lot of these teams. A lot of them know each other, played against each other in high school, and they play on the same team in high school. There's a lot of built-in natural rivalry, so each game is important, and each game feels like a rivalry a little bit, which is definitely interesting, and I'm excited for it, And then, on the Mountain East Conference, I wouldn't expect anything different than to be sixth, and honestly, it gave me a few pretty easy talking points, to be honest. So I was happy with. Obviously, it's a motivator, but it made my job easy with talking to the players about being voted sixth in the preseason.
You mentioned the recruiting side of things, and I want to ask you, because I normally do this with in-state coaches, especially the Division II ranks, but when it comes to recruiting in-state, I know oftentimes people like to talk about just how good or undervalued the state is in regards to high school talent. I mean, you can obviously see at the NFL ranks with several guys playing in the NFL from West Virginia, but the importance for you recruiting in-state. I know you're a university guy. I know you didn't graduate from university, but at the same time, how important is the recruiting side of things in-state in West Virginia for you as a head coach at Glenville State?
Very, very. I want to be every kid, whether they're going to play D2 football, Division I football at any level, FCS, G5, Power 4. I want to be every kid's first offer. And we want to provide opportunities for the kids. Like, if you could play Division II football in the state of West Virginia, we want you to come play at Glenville State, as long as we got enough scholarship money and enough room for you. That's how important it is to us. Like, we want to put a barrier up. I want every kid that's deemed good enough by our staff to come play for us. We got beautiful facilities. We have a ton of support. It's a great community. And you get the feeling football is a big deal in Glenville. And when kids come here, they realize that when they come on their visit, when they see the facilities, when they see what's being invested into the football program and athletics in general. But it's a huge deal. Like, I don't want to miss on a kid in West Virginia and have to play against him when he's at Fairmont or West Lib or Concord. I want those kids to come play for us. So that's where we start. We did all of our camps this summer all around the state of West Virginia, and we're trying to find them in the 27 class. We're trying to get on them early and put Glenville in the back of their minds, whether that's with a scholarship offer or getting them to come see campus and come to a game this fall.
Talk to me about some of these players you have on this year's roster, and let's start from a macro and then kind of work our way in. When you look at these position groups across the board for you all, has there been a specific position group that has stood out to you just in regards to where their growth has been and has blossomed from maybe the 1st of January as we to now where we enter the latter portion of the month of August?
Yeah, there's a few. I've liked our running backs since spring ball. I think I love how they run the ball. They make you tackle, and they're not going to be run out of bounds guys. They're run through you guys, and they run with a purpose. And so the running backs were Amir Simmons, Jameer Fox, Xavion Wood, who's still coming back from an injury, Eli Bartley, who's a Parkersburg South kid. Those guys run the ball hard with bad intentions. Our offensive line, we got a lot. That's probably our most veteran group. And just to shout them out, we had 9 offensive linemen in spring ball. So we have enough for, to have 2 groups run out there. And some of those kids took every single rep in a practice. And some of them have played a lot of football already. So you talk about mindset and toughness. And I like our offensive line and where they're at. But, so – and then, I think our defensive line, Coach Hill's done a great job with them from, schematically what it was to what it is now. He's done a great job with getting them to buy into our scheme and getting them to play at a high level. And we've added some more pieces for him to play with. So those are the 3 that have really stood out to me, and I'm excited about those groups.
And then finally, from a defensive perspective, just going through your all's depth chart, it seems like you guys got some really solidified pieces on the defensive side of the ball that could really give you guys the boost that you guys need, especially whenever you guys get into the middle of conference play, which is arguably led by Braden Boggs. kind of talk to me about this defense, what you've seen from them, and some guys that could potentially emerge amongst the rest and really be key contributors for you all.
Yeah. There's a few, a lot of new faces. Boggs and Maddox Gillespie are, the main returners. Wes Brown playing D-line, who's a Bridgeport kid. I think he's going to stand out to a lot of people around the league this year. As a linebacker, Jacob Clark, Tyson Garrett, Donathan Williams, Anthony Baczynski have all had really good spring balls in camp. And then, our DBs, a lot of new guys, a lot of young guys. Bryson Oliver was just voted the team captain, transferred a guy here in the spring. He's done a really, really good job for us, along with Boggs. Noel Smith, who was a transfer from Navy, is an awesome kid and a really good football player. And Sean Williams has done a really, really good job at corner. And so those are some guys to keep your eyes on, watch, and I think they're gonna make some noise for us this fall and play a lot of snaps. Those are guys we're hanging our hats on.
I have one final question because I want to get your perspective as now a Division II head football coach. Obviously, you've been around the game of football now for your this is your seventh season that you said, and you've been able to be on staffs, whether it be at the Group of 5 level, lower tier level, college football, even the Power 4, Power 5 level. With how the game and the sport has changed, and it's continuing to change and shift across the nation. How are you as a coach preparing for just the inevitable? And what I mean by inevitable is something happening and seemingly every single day in the sport. And how are you kind of adjusting and adapting to that along the way?
Yeah. It's been, even since, we were talking about how long I've been in coaching, it's changed drastically in 7 years. From the 5-for-5 rule to now they're talking about NFL players, guys in preseason coming back. And you really just got to roll with the punches. And there's some good in it. Obviously, there's some bad in it. But you really just, you adjust. Okay, well, this is a rule now, or this isn't a rule anymore. And, there's some benefit to it, especially for us at this level is, the portal helps us. We lose some guys, but we can get a lot of guys out of the portal, and we can take a chance on guys out of the portal that maybe nobody else will. So there's a lot of good. I know there's a lot of stuff that, people are negative about it, but there is a lot of good, but it's constant change right now until they really get it nailed down on how the NCAA wants to move forward with it. And you really can't do much about it other than, change how you think, change how you do it, and give your program and your kids the best chance to win. And that's what we do. And it hasn't really affected us a ton. The 5-for-5 rule is a good thing. It helps us. You don't have to worry about redshirting guys. You can play guys early and everybody gets 5 years. The biggest thing that the 5-for-5 changed with us is there's no more semester rule at Division II, which used to be able to manipulate that a little bit when guys got hurt or, maybe a guy was a little bit older coming back to play, took a year off. It changes that a little bit. But other than that, it really hasn't changed too much.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time. Thank you. Congratulations on the new gig at Glenville State. Looking forward to seeing you all compete this season, and good luck to you guys as you guys compete in the 2026 season.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. There he is, head coach Jake Casteel of the Glenville State Pioneers. That'll do it for us. Again, programming note for next week, we're going to be joined on Tuesday by WVU Athletic Director Ren Baker, then on Thursday with Coastal Carolina head football coach Ryan Beard. Again, all of our socials and our podcast links are in the description, so be sure to do that. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button as well to stay up to date with everything going on with this podcast. And we will see you all next week. This is All Ears.
You have been listening to the All Ears podcast, powered by HD Media.